hang on tight. Fish Talk Radio is about to take you on a fishing adventure. You're about to go places you have even yet to desire and revisit familiar favorites with live, on-the-water expert insider tips. Now, sit up straight, pay attention, take notes, and join the party for a blue water, whitewater, and calm water adventure. Check out fish tips and trips online at fishtalkradio.com. And now, the all-natural attitude adjustment.
Welcome to Fish Talk Radio. This is John Hennigan in studio, and gosh, we're going to have so much fun today. Waiting on the line right now, we have someone that I recently met that I'm fascinated with, Jerry Hamza, and he's got such a long story in and out of the fishing business, but we're going to get into him and let him kind of follow some of the stories about what he's done, what he's doing. And then, of course, he's just come out with, I guess it's your first book, Jerry, is Outdoor Chronicles?
Yes, that's my debut.
Right. Well, I haven't had a chance to read it yet. We just talked the other day, but we're going to get a chance to get into that, and maybe you'll kind of give us an excerpt from that. And Jerry has been there, done that. He's traveled all over, fished almost everywhere, and he's in his book, which I understand is basically a fiction, but it's based on your own experiences. Is that fair to say?
Well, they're actual. The stories are all true. So,
wait a minute, Jerry, you're an angler, you're a fisherman, and you're telling me that it's all true? Yeah, right. But anyway, it might be some elaboration.
Look, the lies are mostly in the size of the thing,
okay.
But it's not in the event.
Okay. All right. And then we're going to have Nick Clark, who is, I think, he's with Eagle Claw. I think he's a national sales manager, international sales manager. It's a tremendous company, one of the most respected, and they are all made in Denver, Colorado. So we're going to get more into that, and we're going to try and keep him on for 2 segments because just a simple subject of fishing hooks can be extremely complicated with all the different types, varieties, and sizes and uses. And then we'll see if we can get also in touch with Mark Lassane, editor of Bass Angler Magazine, and see if he can kind of join in with us a little bit. But we're going to have a lot of fun. So stay tuned. Listen to Fish Talk Radio, and we will be back with Jerry in just a couple of minutes. So stay tuned, and we're going to have some fun.
Set on the magnificent Sea of Cortez, the Grand Heritage Resort and Spa at Marina Costa Baja is the first 5-star resort in La Paz, Baja South. Overlooking a 250-slip marina and white sand beaches, enjoy 2 signature restaurants, a world-class destination for fishing or diving. Enjoy 5-star elegance in the charming laid-back city of La Paz. Dock your boat and enjoy the Marina Village. Visit on the web at CostaBajaResort.com.
If you like the show you are listening to right now, you can listen to it and many more just like it on Reno Viola Outdoors Radio. Fishing, hunting, boating, and the rest of the great outdoors 24/7, 365 on Reno Viola Outdoors Radio. Download the free Reno Viola's Outdoor Radio app or visit WRVORadio.com online to see the lineup and schedule. That's Reno Viola Outdoors Radio. And enjoy the great outdoors.
Local fishing at its finest is aboard the Stardust. Day and half-day trips on Stardust Sport Fishing are a family affair. Find out what it's like to view Santa Barbara from the water while you are catching dinner. See whales, dolphins, and Channel Islands up close. Spotless boat and friendly crew are perfect for beginner or expert. Get aboard with Jason Diamond and his crew on Stardust Sport Fishing, operating at a sea landing in the Santa Barbara Harbor. Vagabundos Del Mar Boat and Travel Club has 42 years experience introducing RVers to the joys of Mexico. Specializing in Baja, Vagabundos leads caravans and sponsors fishing tournaments, trailer boat cruises, and weekend getaways in Mexico and the West. Vagabundos Del Mar also saves its 10,000 members tons of money on low-cost auto insurance. Stay up to date on Mexican travel with the printed newsletter online at vagabundos.com or call 800-474-BAJA.
It's time for you to take a real fun adventure. Join a hosted fishing adventure to Alaska or Baja with the staff of Fish Talk Radio. Real Fun Adventures can book you on any adventure you desire. Bring your fishing friends or meet new ones. Fish Talk Radio gets the best deals from our sponsors to give you the best possible price. Real Fun trips are inclusive, easy, no-worry packages to the most popular fish grounds. Trips start around $600. Go to REELfunadventures.com.
The East Cape of Baja, Mexico is world famous for sport fishing. Dorado, tuna, wahoo, marlin, sailfish, roosterfish, and pargo. The Van Wormer resorts make dreams come true at a price all can afford. Hotel Palmas de Cortez, Playa del Sol, and Hotel Punta Colorado have the biggest and best sport fishing fleet in all of Mexico. Call toll-free to 877-777-TUNA to find out how affordable world-class fishing can be. The finest resorts and the best boats in East Cape. Call 877-777-TUNA.
You can't catch fish. You can't catch fish. You can't catch fish. You can't catch fish.
Welcome back to Fish Talk Radio. This is John Hennigan in studio, and contrary to the bumper music, you can catch fish. And we have Jerry Hamza online with us, who I would say, he's been everywhere, fished there, done that. Let's put it that way. And why don't you give us a little bit of your history, Jerry? You've just come out with a new book that we're going to talk about called The Outdoor Chronicles. But let's start off talking to you a little bit about some of your background. Oh, by the way, I Googled your name, and you got some impressive history outside of the angling community. But why don't you give us a little bit of an idea about yourself, how you've gotten involved in fishing, where you've done, and how you've had the opportunity to do that?
Well, it started off a long time ago. I was born in a log cabin in Rochester, New York. Okay. But the truth is, I was on the Lake Plains in New York, and there's great fishing opportunities here. And my grandfather was a fisherman, and my father, so it's a genetic conspiracy that got me into fishing. But then, I have an interesting life. I worked in the management of George Carlin for almost 3 decades, and that provided me an opportunity to travel the whole country, and I took a fishing pole wherever I went. So and eventually you end up connecting the dots if you're around long enough. And then, unfortunately, after George passed away, I was looking for a gig, and I ended up getting elected to president of the Cat Fanciers Association, which was, instead of traveling North America, that gig had me traveling the whole world. So I was fishing then in every continent except Antarctica, which, having that be the last thing out there, I'm going to have to figure out how to do that.
Yeah. Well, fascinating. Well, when you say George Carlin, it could be a common name, but the one we're talking about is the one. Probably one of the funniest men that ever lived, and witty. I'd love to talk just about him on the show, but we're not going to. We're going to talk about you and some of your experiences. But he was quite an amazing person. And when you worked on the team, it seems to me that you were actually more than that. I think you were his agent and guide and confidant.
Yeah, we spent more time with each other than we did with our families. We toured hard, and but there are some good things, and they relate to the book. George was probably there was probably nobody better at comedic timing than George.
Oh yeah.
And so timing is important in anything where you're trying to communicate to other people, and some of that influence is in the book.
Well, he covered a long career. I think I can remember back in, was it Hippy Dippy Weatherman? And that was back in the 70s?
Yeah, and it was even before that. He was he was on some of the early, some of the early talk shows.
Okay.
And
well, I'm not going to.
When he started, it was a tie and suit affair, but that's a long time.
Right, there you go. Well, I'm not going to ask you about being a roadie and drugs and all that kind of stuff. But when do you want to go there?
I couldn't remember to tell you, even if we did.
Okay, but let's talk a little bit about Outdoor Chronicles. Now, you've had the opportunity to fish in many different places. and different types of situations. Now, is this freshwater and deep water, or primarily most of what have you been doing?
My greatest love is fly fishing. And even further down that path is I have this love affair with bamboo.
Oh.
So it's, there's a lot of that in here in the book. It's about, I refer to fly fishing in two eras. I call it, there was this beautiful book called The River Runs Through It.
Yeah. Well, there's an even better movie, yeah.
Yeah, right. The movie was so good that it got all these yuppies and people that outsold it, inspired them that they might be able to find the soul fly fishing.
Right.
And then big corporations took advantage of them. We won't mention their names, but, all of a sudden, guys were showing up better dressed than I was on the streams. Yeah. And so I always referred to that before the river and after the river. As a matter of fact, I wrote a short story. It's called "The River Ruined It," and it's about that thing in context to fly fishing. Mm-hmm. And so,
Jerry, we're gonna try and keep you on as long as we can, and hopefully throughout the show as much as we can.
Okay.
But to give people a sense of the Outdoor Chronicles, we mentioned that. It's not necessarily, it's probably nonfiction, but there's a lot of truth, and it's based on your experiences. Would you mind, is it possible to get just like a couple minutes of you reading an excerpt from it so people get an idea of the flavor of the book?
Yeah, I would love to. Let me start off by saying this book is not a how-to book. It's,
right. But we've only got about 2 or 3 minutes, so
right.
Why don't we do that?
So I'm reading the first part of a story called Touch of Gray. It's about a meeting I had with a terminal elderly man in Roscoe, which is famous for being the home of fly fishing, at least the start of it in North America. So here we go. If you do something long enough and it is worthy, you begin to yearn for the roots. You want to find the foundation. Eventually, it kicks off a journey to search for moral or spiritual significance, a pilgrimage of sorts. Pilgrimages usually mean a journey to a shrine or a place of personal importance. The journey can also be metaphorical. The best are both. If you fly fish, your journey at one point must be to the Catskill mountain town of Roscoe, New York. Some will argue for the blue ribbon staple streams of the American West. In the end, you have to look toward New York's Beaver Kill, Willamette, and Delaware rivers and its branches. As a young man, I chose to go to college in Oneonta, New York, about 90 minutes from the legendary Junction Pool in Roscoe. I loved to fish. I knew that the Catskills were home to some good water. Foolish stubbornness and youth would force me to say it was almost as good as the water at home near Rochester, New York. I never could have realized when I went there how much it was part of what I loved. The fly fishing culture was all over the place. At first, jaded by Madison Avenue campaigns, I figured this must be a small-town sales pitch. Yet I ended up near there by some metaphysical accident. I fished around Roscoe often in brazen, bold manner of youth. I met and talked to fishing legends. I even had the sense to pester Lee Wolf into signing a book of flies for me. After all this, it took years to trace my steps back, to finally get it all right and in perspective. Looking back now, I was like a kid in Jerusalem playing handball up against the Wailing Wall. And that's just the start of
Well,
that
I'll
story.
tell you what, you're quite a wordsmith, aren't you?
I guess.
I guess.
It's that's the kind of thing it's better to have other people do.
In other words, this is a book that every angler should read, and if you're not an angler, you may not appreciate it.
Well, I think what I'm finding out, and when I send you the book, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I've been sending the book to anglers, and I've been getting calls from their wives saying, I'm understanding it.
Oh, great. Great.
It crosses some lines there, so it's kind of cool.
And, okay, We're down to about a minute. This is a tough question. So if you can't give a quick answer, that's okay. You've been everywhere, done everything, fished everywhere. Just without explanation, top 3 your favorite places to fish.
Northwoods in Maine, Patagonia in South America.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And unnamed pond at a very ritzy golf course.
Okay. Those are good answers. Okay. Yeah. There's golf courses always have water traps, and some of them are pretty good if you got to sneak in there at night and don't get caught. Yeah.
I've been thrown out of some of the best country clubs in America.
Okay. Well, I think we're going to have to wrap that one up. But real quickly again, it's Jerry Hamza, Hamza, author of Outdoor Chronicles. And hopefully you'll stick around, Jerry, and we'll be talking to you some more.
Okay, I'm here.
First named La Paz in 1566, the fourth largest municipality in Mexico still has a provincial Mexican atmosphere. On the Sea of Cortez, the most biodiverse body of water in the world, La Paz has year-round world-class fishing. With a rich history of pearls, pirates, and legendary fishing, La Paz in Baja Sur makes for the perfect fishing vacation. Spring in La Paz, you catch trophy pargo, giant yellowtail, and sierra. Find more at vivalapaz.com. Viva La Paz!
The East Cape of Baja, Mexico is world famous for sport fishing. Dorado, tuna, wahoo, marlin, sailfish, roosterfish, and pargo. The Van Wormer resorts make dreams come true at a price all can afford. Hotel Palmas de Cortez, Playa del Sol, and Hotel Punta Colorado have the biggest and best sport fishing fleet in all of Mexico. Call toll-free to 877-777-TUNA to find out how affordable world-class fishing can be. The finest resorts and the best boats in East Cape. Call 877-777-TUNA.
Sandos is how to spell luxury resort in downtown Cabo San Lucas. Sandos Finisterra Los Cabos is the only 5-star all-inclusive on the beach next to the marina in Cabo San Lucas. Angler-friendly Sandos Finisterra Los Cabos is now an affordable world-class resort with the finest accommodations, food, and location anywhere. Enjoy your Cabo fishing adventure as you never have. Visit sandos.com and use discount code FISHTALK.
World-class golf, fishing, and diving in the clear, warm waters of the Sea of Cortez with a true 5-star resort. The Grand Heritage Hotel and Resort at Costa Baja. Great value and without the hustle of other parts of Baja. On the white sand beach with Espiritu Santos Island minutes away. Signature restaurants, pools, and accommodations for an intimate weekend, weddings, or corporate events. On the web at CostaBajaResort.com.
It's time for you to take a real fun adventure. Join a hosted fishing adventure to Alaska or Baja with the staff of Fish Talk Radio. Real Fun Adventures can book you on any adventure you desire. Bring your fishing friends or meet new ones. Fish Talk Radio gets the best deals from our sponsors to give you the best possible price. Real Fun trips are inclusive, easy, no-worry packages to the most popular fish grounds. Trips start around $600. Go to REELFunadventures.com.
Vagabundos Del Mar Boat and Travel Club has 42 years experience introducing RVers to the joys of Mexico. Specializing in Baja, Vagabundos leads caravans and sponsors fishing tournaments, trailer boat cruises, and weekend getaways in Mexico and the West. Vagabundos Del Mar also saves its 10,000 members tons of money on low-cost auto insurance. Stay up to date on Mexican travel with the printed newsletter online at vagabundos.com or call 800-474-BAJA.
Welcome back to Fish Talk Radio. This is John Hennigan in studio. Gosh, I wonder where that bumper music was going. But anyway, let's get down to business. We have Jerry Hamza, who we've just been talking about, author of Outdoor Chronicles and some of his experiences. We have the pleasure of introducing the international sales manager of one of the premium hooks worldwide, but is made in the United States, which is kind of a conundrum because I thought all hooks were made in Japan and China. But we have Nick Clark on the line with us who's going to join us in. And if there's anything that he doesn't know about hooks, then you don't need to know the answer. But if we could introduce Nick, and then I'm sure that Jerry has some questions we can talk about. So first of all, Nick, welcome to Fish Talk Radio.
Thank you, John. Thank you for having me on, and nice to meet you as well, Jay.
Mm-hmm. Now, Nick, to try and get down to the basics, things have progressed over time with certainly, when you think about rods themselves, all the different varieties and types. Fishing line, of course, is just in the last 5 years, it's completely changed. And hooks they've kind of been evolving also. And give us a quick rundown on Eagle Claw about the company itself.
Well, we actually just turned 90 years old this year, so it's a significant milestone for us. And
so you must have started when you were about 10 to be 90 years, huh?
What's that?
I said you must have started there when you were 10 to be there for.
No, I actually just turned 10 years with the company. Okay. So the company's 90, and I have 10 years with them.
Okay.
So, but yeah, we've been manufacturing fish hooks for most of that time. When the company very, very first started, they were really just they were tying flies really, and they were making the hooks for those flies. But it was a very sort of a manual process. And then around World War II, the U.S. government commissioned the company to make survival kits for soldiers over in Europe.
Interesting.
And that is when we got into mass fish hook production. They, they put up the money to build machinery and that type of.
What you mean? So that it's like for aircraft that went down behind enemy lines, they give them some string and a hook and a flashlight or something.
Well, yeah, in a roundabout way. I think. Wow. Soldiers were equipped, and then also vehicles and airplanes and that type of stuff. But that's when we started mass producing hooks. All the machines that we have are designed in-house. There's really none other that we've seen like them around the world. There's not too many fish hook manufacturers to begin with, but we're very unique.
Mm-hmm. Well, we got a lot to cover in a short period of time, but give us a quick rundown. How many, well, we can try and categorize it and keep it as simple as possible, but how many different types or SKU numbers do you manufacture, and where are they manufactured?
Well, the number is actually quite large, but you have to take into consideration that, one style of hook has up to 14 sizes, and then within those sizes there could be up to 4 or 5 different finishes, being gold, nickel, platinum black, those type of plating finishes. So you add all those together, and we have, just in our current catalog, I think we have 5,000 or 6,000 SKUs. But as a company, that's when you consider all the hooks that we build for OEM projects and things like that, we're in the tens of thousands.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's try and simplify things as much as we can. Let's just divide it first in half with saltwater and freshwater.
Okay.
Let's start with the saltwater, because that might be a little more simple. About what type of hooks for different reasons. You've got obviously bait hooks. You've got hooks for trolling, and for live bait and for dead bait. And give us just a kind of basic overview of the different types of hooks that you'd be using.
Yeah, I mean, we produce what are called your standard J hooks that have really been the fish hook design forever, for that matter, in all different sizes. Really small sizes for rigging up sabiki rigs to catch bait, to catch larger fish, or clear up into big trolling type hooks or tuna hooks or things like that. But that's the traditional J style. We're also the pioneers in really creating and taking to market the circle hook, which today is a very, very popular and oftentimes mandated style of fish hook for bill fishing and in different saltwater species. And so I would say today, very easily, our circle hook category is probably our best-selling saltwater fish hook.
Well, let's
style.
talk about that for a minute. I think most people, especially people in saltwater, know a little bit about it, and I'm sure that Jerry has had some exposure. But I first heard about it probably about 15 years ago. It seems to me it was first used in Japan. But the concept, if you have never seen one, take a regular fishing hook, and when you follow the point, and then you take the point and bend it directly toward the shank.
Exactly.
Well, so if you go, well, wait a minute, how is that going to hook a fish? But apparently what happens is that and by the way, don't ever set the hook on a circle hook. But what happens is the fish will normally, any fish will come up, it'll grab the bait, and then because there's usually other predators around, he wants to grab that bait and run away with it before somebody else has a chance to steal it. So when he makes that turn, the fishing line is going back towards the tail, and so that curve in the hook will catch him in the jaw, and it's great for catch and relief. And once it's hooked, it stays hooked because it gets right in the jaw.
And there's another important thing to point out on circle hooks. By their design being circular with the point, like you say, towards the shank, a fish, a very aggressive fish can eat a bait, and it can actually go down the fish's gullet, down his throat with that hook.
Right.
And the fish most generally will not get gut hooked with a circle hook. That when the line tightens, or when the fish turns,
when he makes a turn,
that hook will actually go down and then actually come back up, and that's when it catches it in the corner of the mouth.
Yeah, they do.
So it nearly eliminates gut hooks. It happens every once in a while, but 95% of the times you avoid a gut hook, which kills a fish.
Jerry, do you have any comments and you have any questions actually for Nick about saltwater?
Yeah, I actually do, and it might be getting away from it a little bit. But Nick, is the company still making rods?
No, we don't manufacture rods. We did for a bunch of years, clear up until I'm going to say mid-'70s, maybe very early '80s. And most rod production in the U.S. moved to, at that time, Korea. I think they went first, a lot of manufacturers. And then from Korea, they went to China over the years. But we manufactured, some very famous lines, the Trailmaster, the Granger series. We had actually a rod factory north of Denver for many years, and then another one in Denver. So we were certainly in that business, but as that sort of industry and category went overseas, we couldn't compete. So that's one thing we gave up on. Fortunately, we were able to stick with our core business and manufacturing fish hooks in the U.S.
I actually have a 1950s salesman kit for
Oh really? Oh really?
With all the snelled hooks when they were first coming out. It's kind of a neat thing.
Some of that old stuff will fetch a good price on eBay.
Yeah. Well,
I like it too much.
Nick, let's just kind of try and finish up a little bit with saltwater. We talked about the J hook and the circle hook, but and then of course we've got bait hooks, which would be 1-2/0 or one size 1-2. And you want to comment anything about hooks that may be particular for saltwater? Do you use different coatings or different materials?
And we most of your saltwater hooks are some of them. There used to be a lot of stainless steel, and there's still stainless steel hooks are used quite widely, especially in your trolling lures and that type of thing. Your teaser lures for billfish and that type of thing. Another coating which is popular for saltwater would be a tin-based. We call ours a Sea Guard, and that's a tin-based finish. It's highly corrosion resistant, not as much as obviously stainless steel. And then some of your sport fishing, newer fish hooks for saltwater, I guess you could say, are going to a platinum black plating, which is a nickel plating, but it's got some other elements to it that make it quite resistant to saltwater. And so those are kind of your three finishes that are that you find in saltwater would be stainless, a Seaguard, a tin-based plating, or a platinum black.
Nick, I got a question while we're talking about that.
Well, it looks like I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jerry, but we've got just about a minute.
Yeah, one of the things that we always like to see is if we end up losing a hook on a fish. Do you guys do things like study how long it takes for the hooks to dissolve?
Good question.
There has been a lot of studies over the years, and I think that's a good one of the reasons why there's sort of been a movement away from stainless steel hooks, because they don't corrode quickly. Stainless steel actually does corrode, but it takes forever. And so that's why people prefer to use a nickel-based plating, or some diehards will use a bronze hook in saltwater because for that exact reason.
The point is, if it swallows the hook, if you try and get it out, you're going to kill it. So you're better off just clipping it and letting it pass on its own, or or dissolve on its own. We're going to take another quick break again, and we're going to come back and maybe we'll talk some more about freshwater, if you don't mind. You are listening to Fish Talk Radio.
The road stretches for miles in front of you, and with the Ram 1500, you'll be able to reach mile after open mile. It gets a best-in-class 25 miles per gallon highway, so your destination won't just be determined by your gas gauge, but by your gauge for achievement. And the Ram 1500 is the first ever back-to-back Motor Trend Truck of the Year. Guts, glory, Ram. See your local Ram dealer today for great deals. EPA estimated 25 mpg highway based on V6 4x2.
If you like the show you are listening to right now, you can listen to it and many more just like it on Reno Viola Outdoors Radio. Fishing, hunting, boating, and the rest of the great outdoors 24/7, 365 on Reno Viola Outdoors Radio. Download the free Reno Viola's Outdoor Radio app or visit WRVOradio.com online to see the lineup and schedule. That's Reno Viola Outdoors Radio. And enjoy the great outdoors.
Vagabundos Del Mar Boat and Travel Club has 42 years experience introducing RVers to the joys of Mexico. Specializing in Baja, Vagabundos leads caravans and sponsors fishing tournaments, trailer boat cruises, and weekend getaways in Mexico and the West. Vagabundos Del Mar also saves its 10,000 members tons of money on low-cost auto insurance. Stay up to date on Mexican travel with the printed newsletter online at vagabundos.com or call 800-474-BAJA.
The East Cape of Baja, Mexico is world famous for sport fishing. Dorado, tuna, wahoo, marlin, sailfish, roosterfish, and pargo. The Van Wormer resorts make dreams come true at a price all can afford. Hotel Palmas de Cortez, Playa del Sol, and Hotel Punta Colorado have the biggest and best sport fishing fleet in all of Mexico. Call toll-free to 877-777-TUNA to find out how affordable world-class fishing can be. The finest resorts and the best boats in East Cape. Call 877-777-TUNA.
First named La Paz in 1566, the fourth largest municipality in Mexico still has a provincial Mexican atmosphere. On the Sea of Cortez, the most biodiverse body of water in the world, La Paz has year-round world-class fishing. With a rich history of pearls, pirates, and legendary fishing, La Paz in Baja Sur makes for the perfect fishing vacation. Spring in La Paz, you catch trophy pargo, giant yellowtail, and Sierra. Find more at vivalapaz.com. Viva La Paz!
Bass Angler Magazine simply brings you more. If you want to learn the latest techniques, start winning tournaments, or just catch more bass, then Bass Angler Magazine is for you. Go to www.bassmag.com. Click on the order link and use the promo code FBR. Go to www.bassmag.com. Bass Angler Magazine, bassmag.com. It will be the best $20 you've ever spent.
Big old trout, just as cool as the evening shade. Well, I toss my line and I haul it up. I think I've got it made. Big old trout, is giving me a dirty look. Well, I'm determined to catch that rainbow trout, but I keep pulling up an empty...
Welcome back to Fish Talk Radio. This is John Hennigan, and we're having some fun. We've got Jerry Hamza, author of Outdoor Chronicles, and we have the pleasure of Nick Clark, who's international sales manager for Eagle Claw, and we've been talking about some fun stuff. Let's get into freshwater, and maybe let's get Jerry to ask a couple of questions to Nick.
Yeah, with your freshwater lines, are you guys experimenting on hook colors and how much they matter when it comes to catching?
Yeah, we have probably a wider assortment of freshwater hooks overall as a company than we do saltwater. There's just a bigger variety when you get into the bass fishing, which is so popular in the United States. And then the trout spectrum and stuff like that. There's just a need for a wider variety of finishes. We do everything from gold to platinum black, like you also find in the saltwater, to red and the chartreuse colors and crazy colors. I don't know, if any one finish is better at catching a fish than the other. I think a lot of it appeals to the angler more than anything, but that's my sort of philosophy. But certainly...
Yeah, obviously, Nick, the first thing you have to catch is the angler.
Sure.
Because they're the ones that buy the hooks. But you mentioned red. I'm just kind of curious. I'd assumed that the red is supposed to simulate blood, but also red is a color that tends to disappear in water. So I'm just wondering about the concept. And as a personal opinion, do you think it really makes any difference at all?
There was a trend where red was the thing. Every hook had to be red a number of years ago. And it's kind of faded away. We don't see the demand for nearly as many red hooks as we used to, especially in octopus hooks and kind of that salmon steelhead fishery and that type of thing. So I really do think it's a trendy thing. Sure, it might mimic blood. I'm not a huge believer myself in the hook being that visible to the fish and the color of the hook making an impact. So that's. Some people may disagree with me. That's just sort of.
I mean, if it, just like a ball player has his lucky shoes or whatever it is, if it works, then you can't say why, but it works. Another question for you is with the dramatic changes that we've had in the industry and technology with the rods and the line. Does that affect the micro braid? Is that affecting hooks that you're making?
Yeah, and I was going to, when you mentioned that earlier, I was going to point that out. Braided line has certainly changed the fish hook industry to a certain degree, especially in saltwater, because, these guys are fishing with braided line in these huge reels, and it takes a monster to break that. And so we've had to make hooks more, stronger hooks just to deal with the strength that's being created by the braided line and these big reels that they're using today. I do a lot of business down in Brazil, for example, where you have the peacock bass fisheries. And when they started using braided line on peacock bass, our 4X trebles suddenly weren't strong enough. And a 4X treble is a pretty strong treble hook.
Wow, interesting.
So.
Okay. Wow. And before you take off, Jerry, is there any other questions that you had for Nick?
Yeah. Just one more question, and then I'll take off. But are you guys doing any? As I get older, my arms get shorter. Are you doing anything to make hooks more user friendly as far as tying them on?
There's probably not too much being, with respect to a different type of eye or something like that to make it easier.
Yeah. I always often thought that an eye like threading a needle might be a little easier.
Yeah, no, there's not too much that I can think of to make that easier. Really old fish hooks, the traditional way, the fish hook did not have an eye. It had like a spade on the end.
Right, so you'd have to snell it.
You tied a noose, basically. To me, that was probably much more complicated than tying an eye. So I guess there has been an advancement, but I really don't see much in the industry today as to further help make that easier.
Okay. Well, Jerry, we're going to let you go, but we really appreciate that. We check out Outdoor Chronicles. You probably would just Google Jerry Hamza or Outdoor Chronicles.
Or you can get it on. You can go to Amazon.com or any of your favorite places where you buy books, and you'll find.
I appreciate that very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jerry.
Take care.
Thank you, Jerry.
And hey, Nick, we did find somebody else that you've probably talked to in the past. We have Mark Lassane from Bass Angler Magazine. Well, actually, he's the publisher, director, editor, copywriter, janitor, and all that. But he's out. He's out, I think, on the Delta fishing right now. And Mark, we have Nick Clark, who is an international sales manager for Eagle Claw, and talk about bass fishing. You may have some questions for Nick. So, Nick, we appreciate that, and we know that you're an expert on what you do, but you can't be an expert on every type of hook. So let's see what.
No, I'm not.
Let's see if Mark can twist you up a little bit. Mark.
I heard him talking about stronger hooks and braided line. Well, I'm out here and using a technique they call punching out here on the Delta, and I'm using 65-pound braid and a 8-foot rod, and I caught 2 8-pounders today, and I was just worried about my hook bending out. So that's funny. He was talking.
Is that striper, Mark?
Yeah.
No, largemouth bass.
Oh, wow, 8 pounds. Wow.
Yeah, I'm fishing some junk. We have all this great big green junk. We throw it in our side with a big giant weight. We throw it up into the stuff, and we shake it down through, and look for those big giant fish up under there. I have a tournament coming up, so I'm kind of out practicing for that. Trying to dial them in.
Nice.
Well, Eddie, you were talking about the strength required for the micro braid, right?
Right. Well, I'm using braid. It's not micro braid. It's it's pretty thick braid. It's 65 pounds. So most of the micro braid, I think, is it's the smaller diameters.
But the idea is that changing the equipment, and I know that they're actually designing reels now that are smaller because you don't need the size because of the size of the line, but they need to be stronger. And so apparently the same thing is happening with hooks then, Nick. Is that right?
Yeah, hooks. I mean, people are wanting stronger hooks because they're using braided line and stronger reels, and they can't have those hooks bend. So, that certainly has caused a change in how we're building hooks, and strength and sharpness are very critical factors. So
now let's talk about sharpness for a second, because I know that obviously you want a point that sticks and grabs and holds, and some hooks have like a kind of like a knife or a razor edge on them to help cut in.
Yep. Yeah, those are, your traditional fish hook would have what we call a cut point. Some people call it a forged point. And it's a knife edge, basically, that's, sharpened down to the point. Especially in bass fishing, those have largely been replaced by needle points, which are basically a honed needle point.
Well, I've heard that, the knife points, although they grab very well, they can actually kind of, if you're fighting a big fish, say in the saltwater for long periods of time, it can actually gouge out a hole because it's cutting into it. And you could, instead of just grabbing in one point, it can actually kind of wear out a hole in the bone, and you could lose a fish that way.
I suppose that's possible. I mean, I kind of argue that for saltwater, that forged sort of cut point is it's more durable, holds up better than a needle point in saltwater. So, depending on how you're fishing, I tend to recommend a cut point hook, and most of your trolling hooks and big tuna hooks and stuff like that are still a knife edge point.
Okay. Well, we're down to 2 minutes. Let me ask one question, and then I'll let Mark ask a question. What about sharpening hooks? If you're out on the water, should you carry a sharpener with you, or would you do more damage than good?
Well, a lot of guys do, and you'd have to have a knife edge type point to sharpen it. You really can't sharpen needle point, so sharpen a needle point. So, but yeah, most saltwater guys do carry a hook hone.
Okay.
And
all right.
Sharpen hooks.
All right, Mark, you get the last question.
Hey, what about angle? I know in Eagle Claw you make a couple different angles of hooks, like a kale style, and then a round bend treble, and a short shank treble. And how do you determine which one is the best for which lure you're using?
Well, a lot of that's just through trial and error, and feedback from fishermen. Really, it's I wouldn't say there's. We certainly go out and do a lot of fishing. Different people in the company, product managers, and things like that. But I would say most of our development and new items and things like that ultimately comes from feedback from our pro staff and professionals and anglers. So.
Sure.
Right. Well, we're gonna wrap it up right now, but I would like to, 90 years Eagle Claw's been around, and I believe that you said all of your product is made in Denver, Colorado. It's all made in the USA.
All of our fish hooks, for sure, are made in the United States.
Yeah, but actually, from what I understand, also a lot of people, instead of buying hooks from China's buying hooks from you because they want the American quality. But
that's actually my job as international salesman. I'm actually selling a lot of hooks into China.
All right, Nick, we got to go. Eagle Claw, you can find him anywhere and everywhere. And Mark, bassanglermag.com. Thank you, guys. You're listening to Fish Talk Radio.
SANDOS is how to spell luxury resort in downtown Cabo San Lucas. Sandos Finisterra Los Cabos is the only 5-star all-inclusive on the beach next to the marina in Cabo San Lucas. Angler-friendly Sandos Finisterra Los Cabos is now an affordable world-class resort with the finest accommodations, food, and location anywhere. Enjoy your Cabo fishing adventure as you never have. Visit sandos.com and use discount code FISHTALK.
World-class golf, fishing, and diving in the clear, warm waters of the Sea of Cortez with a true 5-star resort. The Grand Heritage Hotel and Resort at Costa Baja. Great value and without the hustle of other parts of Baja. On the white sand beach with Espiritu Santos Island minutes away. Signature restaurants, pools, and accommodations for an intimate weekend, weddings, or corporate events. On the web at CostaBajaResort.com.
The East Cape of Baja, Mexico is world famous for sport fishing. Dorado, tuna, wahoo, marlin, sailfish, roosterfish, and pargo. The Van Wormer resorts make dreams come true at a price all can afford. Hotel Palmas de Cortez, Playa del Sol, and Hotel Punta Colorado have the biggest and best sport fishing fleet in all of Mexico. Call toll-free to 877-777-TUNA to find out how affordable world-class fishing can be. The finest resorts and the best boats in East Cape. Call 877-777-TUNA.
Vagabundos Del Mar Boat and Travel Club has 42 years experience introducing RVers to the joys of Mexico. Specializing in Baja, Vagabundos leads caravans and sponsors fishing tournaments, trailer boat cruises, and weekend getaways in Mexico and the West. Vagabundos Del Mar also saves its 10,000 members tons of money on low-cost auto insurance. Stay up to date on Mexican travel with the printed newsletter online at vagabundos.com or call 800-474-BAJA.
Want to add more excitement behind the wheel? Choose Shell V-Power Premium Gasoline and experience a drive that comes alive. Shell V-Power removes an average of 60% of performance-robbing gunk on intake valves left by low-quality premium gasolines. And it starts with your very first tank. And now you can save big on Shell fuels. Just sign up free for the Fuel Rewards Network program and receive at least 3 cents per gallon instantly on every fill-up. For full offer and details, visit fuelrewards.com.
It's time for you to take a real fun adventure. Join a hosted fishing adventure to Alaska or Baja with the staff of Fish Talk Radio. Real Fun Adventures can book you on any adventure you desire. Bring your fishing friends or meet new ones. Fish Talk Radio gets the best deals from our sponsors to give you the best possible price. Real Fun trips are inclusive, easy, no-worry packages to the most popular fish grounds. Trips start around $600. Go to REELFunadventures.com.
5 fishing poles, one for every fish.
Welcome back to Fish Talk Radio. This is John Hennigan in studio. And we have a couple of very important high-end experts. Mark Lesane, who is editor and publisher and chief executive of Bass Angler Magazine, bassmag.com. And true to his profession, he's on the Delta right now, and he was telling us that he went out this morning at 10, and within, sounds like probably 2-3 hours, he's got 2 8-pounders and 2 4-pound largemouth. Wow. So obviously he knows what he's doing. And we have...
And I have pictures.
We have pictures. Yeah, right. Do they have dates on them? Yeah. Anyway,
oh, yeah.
Anyway, we also have Nick Clark, who is the international sales manager for Eagle Claw, premium American-made fishing hooks. And we were just talking off during the break a little bit about that you sell hooks not just in the United States because your title is international. Could you give us a clue about that?
Yeah, we export fish hooks to around 55 countries, approaching 60 countries, different countries, all over the world. You know, we have a strong presence throughout the Americas, South America, Central, the Caribbean, a very strong presence up in Canada, and then Europe's a big market for us. In Asia, we send a lot of fish hooks over to lure manufacturers over there. Quite a few American-based lure manufacturers that are manufacturing over there that are using Eagle Claw fish hooks. And then we also have made significant strides in getting into the consumer market in China as well. So, you know, there's a world of opportunity out there. And
I find that very interesting, Nick, because Gamakatsu and some of the Japanese companies that to make hooks, are recognized worldwide, and China has come a long ways with their technology because they can do great products at a lesser price, but yet they want to import Eagle Claws. Yeah,
it's. Japanese technology is quite high. The Japanese make some very good quality fish hooks. Okay. China has improved, but they're still not. I don't believe where we are with technology, and and not necessarily in the styles, but in the plating techniques, the finish, and that type of thing.
Okay.
That's where you'll find. You'll find American-made fish hooks are superior.
It's certainly refreshing to have an American manufacturer shipping goods to China. And obviously, that means something because I suspect that if it says made in USA over there, it means a lot as it does here.
Yeah. No, it's, there's a niche market of, for our products in the Chinese market, and a niche market in China is actually a pretty big market.
Wow. So. Well, there's a lot of anglers. Yeah. And then, Mark, did you have any closing comments or questions?
I just wondered about the quality of the steel. I was thinking that, the quality of the steel that Eagle Claw uses is probably far superior than they get over in China. I imagine that, maybe it's different carbon or what they put in it that just, makes it better. Plus, expensive.
Yeah, that's a very good point. We source all of our steel here in the U.S. Most of it comes from the northeast part of the country. Mm-hmm. We have tested Chinese steel, and just as an alternative or a sort of a plan B if it ever needed to be, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work for us in most cases. So we're there's something to be said about the
made in USA, right. Well, we're just about wrapping it up right now, so I would like to thank Nick for he is en route from someplace to someplace. He pulled over to the side of the road to talk to us.
I'm actually in the middle of Kansas. That's where I'm from.
Great. Well, his cell phones work everywhere. And then Mark is on the water at the Sacramento River Delta, and he's already caught 2 8-pound largemouth and 4. He probably would have caught more if we didn't put him on the radio. But he wants to get back to work there.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But I'll tell you what, if I had a day like that, I'd call it done. Anyway, looks like we're going to have to go. You are listening to Fish Talk Radio. And thank you again, Nick Clark and Mark Lassane, for helping us out today. We needed a lot more time to talk about hooks, so we'll come back to it another time. 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 We'll come